Hey boys and girls, I hope you all are doing well and taking advantage of this time to stay safe and healthy at home with your families. As you all know, last week during math, we were talking about how to add fractions with the same denominator. So today I just wanted to go ahead and take a quick little video of me teaching you a new concept. We're going to take what we already know about how to add fractions with the same denominator, and we're going to learn how to multiply whole numbers by a fraction. So first, let's review our addition model, and then we can see how these two things connect. So last week during small group, we learned how to add fractions that have the same denominator. And you all did excellent at this. So to quickly review, we know 1/4 plus 1/4. We know that we have to add our numerators to get 2. But our denominator is going to stay the same because these are like denominators. Both of our denominators are 4, so we're not going to change that. We don't have to. So we're going to have our answer, and our answer is going to be 2/4. 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 2/4 because we only have to add our numerators together. Now, we could write this in a different way using multiplication. Instead of doing 1/4 plus 1/4, we could also do 1/4 times 2 to give us our same answer. Let me show you. So 1/4 times 2, and I'm going to actually write it as 2 times 1/4. We're going to get the same answer, and I'm going to show you exactly why. So, same with addition, we're going to keep our denominator the same. We only have one denominator, but it's going to stay the same for this problem. We're going to keep our 4. Now, we have to multiply our whole number, our 2, by our 1, by our unit fraction. Now remember, you've learned in the past that our unit fraction is any fraction that has 1 in the numerator. This could be 1/2, 1/3, 1/10, 1/4. This is our unit fraction. So we're going to multiply our whole number by our unit fraction and by our numerator of our unit fraction. So 2 times 1 is 2. So you can see we have the same answer for both of these problems. We're solving the same problem just in 2 different ways. We used a repeated addition and we used multiplication. Let's go ahead and do another one together. I'm going to erase my board. And we'll do a couple more practice problems so you can go ahead and continue to make this connection. Okay. All right, so that was one example. Let's do a little bit more of a challenging one. And feel free to follow along with me at home on your own sheet of paper. That might be the best way you can learn and understand this new concept. So I'm going to do another addition problem with fractions with the same denominator or like denominators. My board's not wanting to erase. There we go. Okay, now it should be easier. All right, so I'm going to do 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus another 2/3. Oh my goodness. Now this seems like kind of a big and almost kind of scary problem, but we know we can solve this based off what we learned last week. All of our denominators are 3. So what does that tell us? It tells us that 3 is still going to be our denominator. That is not going to change. 3 is still our denominator. Now, just like our problem before and what we learned last week during small group, we just have to add all of our numerators together. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So we get 12/3. We solved it exactly like that last problem, even though it seems a lot bigger. So we're going to go ahead and change this to a multiplication problem. Instead of having to add 2/3 together 6 times, we can do 6 times 2/3. This is the same thing. It's just much more condensed and it's a little bit easier to understand. It doesn't seem quite as overwhelming. So just like before, we're going to keep our denominator the same. We're going to keep our 3 in our denominator, and we're going to do 6 times 2 to get our numerator. Now we know 6 times 2 is 12. So we got the same answer, okay? So this is just, like I said before, another way to solve these problems. And I think this is a little bit easier actually, because this looks kind of confusing and you could easily add wrong just by skipping one of your fractions on accident. But this one, it's kind of already set up for you. You just have to multiply your whole number by your numerator, and then you keep your denominator the same to get the same answer. So I'm going to erase this. And now we're going to do a couple more practice problems, and this is what your homework assignment is actually going to look like. You're going to have an assignment that has very similar problems to this. So as I said before, if you would like to follow along at home on your own sheet of paper while you're watching this, please feel free to do so. It'll be some good practice for you. Dry off my board. Okay, so if I have a fraction 2/5, I can write this as 2 equals my unit fraction. Oop, not 2 equals. 2 times 1/5. 2 times 1/5. So this is the same thing. 2 times 1 is 2, and our denominator stays the same. Our denominator stays 5 because that's what it is over here. We don't need to change that. Now, this is kind of making you think about it in the reverse order. Before you were given the problem and you had to solve it to get your answer. Now this one you kind of had to work backwards, right? So let's do another like this because this is what your assignment is going to be like. So what about if I have 2, we'll do 2/6. 2/6. What would my whole number be? Now think about this for a sec. What is my numerator? My numerator is going to give me my whole number, so that is 2. So 2/6 equals 2 times my unit fraction. Now remember, what needs to stay the same? Our denominator. So 2 times what over 6, and we know this is our unit fraction, so that tells us our numerator is going to be 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and our denominator is 6. 2/6, 2/6. That's how we can check ourselves to make sure our answer is correct. Okay, guys, so now that you understand and had a little bit of practice working with how to multiply whole numbers by a fraction, you should be able to do your assignment that you were given. However, Ms. Hart and I are both here for you if you need any additional help or other 4th grade teachers in the school. But that should be a nice little review, and then if you need to go back and rewatch this video to kind of go through it again, you can definitely do that as well. So good luck with your assignment, and let us know if you have any questions.